You probably know it from the very opening vocals of the song, the echoing chorus that kind of permeates the entire time that the song is being sung to the very end. What am I talking about? I am talking about Pompeii by Bastille. Now, we are going to get a little bit into the background, but I really wanted to break the actual song down itself. Because Bastille is a very interesting band. You know, the makeup of their instruments, Dan Smith's vocals, are just absolutely amazing. And near the end, I'm going to go into a little bit of the theory that I have about the song, in it being one of the last, at least that comes to memory for me, big indie songs that charted. But before I get into all of that, I just wanted to say a huge welcome to everybody. I wanted to say a huge welcome to the 198 subscribers that I have. I can't even believe that you guys are subscribed to me. And it just goes beyond words how privileged I feel to talk about indie music to you. And of course, if you are not subscribed to this channel, that's okay. You know, I welcome you in anyway, and thank you for the time that you're giving me. So a little bit of background story into Bastille. Bastille, it is a British band, and Dan Smith originally had started the band alone. He wrote music by himself for about 5+ years, I think, before friends and family kind of ushered him in and encouraged him to actually give music production and singing an actual chance. So throughout college, he did that. He graduated from college, but then right afterwards, you know, he did what a lot of musicians did during that period of time, it seems like, and decided to go for music instead of going full-blown after his education. So hence, he rounded up some people for a band, and Bastille was born. Now, Bastille is interesting because they do have kind of like your normal makeup of a band, right? Like kind of like your normal 4-piece band. But I almost liken them a little bit to the band Silver Sun Pickups in the way of composition, where they are very heavy on effects and synths and beats, and it kind of outweighs the guitar playing. Now, the guitar playing is there. You can definitely hear it. And in some songs, you know, it's kind of lopsided the other way, where it's kind of more rock-driven rather than alternative. But I would say the majority of the time, like 8 out of 10 songs, 4 out of 5 songs, are very heavy on kind of experimental beats and hip-hop beats versus kind of like a normal 4-piece rock band. And it works for them. You know, Bastille to me has a very succinct sound to them, other than Dan Smith's soaring vocals. His range is absolutely incredible. And I think if he really put more time and attention into it, and I'm not even saying he's not, but I kind of think of like Brandon Urie's vocals, how he evolved them over the years. If he had a very similar kind of way of evolution with his vocals, there is just no range that I think he could kind of stop himself at. His range is just unbelievable. Now, Pompeii, kind of the background into that is Pompeii was off of Bastille's debut album, but it was not their first single. I believe Pompeii was single number 4 on the list. So it was not one of those songs that they were very quick to kind of get out to people right away. But when they did, it just exploded. It reached number 2 in the United Kingdom. It topped the charts in some countries. And in America, it got, I think, up to number 5. So, you know, even to reach top 10 is amazing. But it got to number 5 as well. Now, I know when you break down the lyrics to the song Pompeii, a lot of people say, yes, he definitely is referencing the actual event of Pompeii, but I definitely think this is more of a love song and he uses it in an illustrative way. Um, but what's kind of funny is when they get interviewed about the song, Bastille really leans on the actual event of Pompeii rather than, kind of like the underlying theme and kind of like a second meaning to the song itself. In fact, in one of the song's explanations, when he's talking about it, he says near the end, and I quote, "It's sort of imagining a conversation between two of those people once Pompeii happened." So, again, that's kind of crazy. They lean on that. Um, and it's funny because I kind of believe them when they say that the meaning of it is more so kind of just telling the story of Pompeii rather than a love song. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think it does have that love song theme in the lyrics as well. But I think what kind of pushes me in that direction is they didn't expect it to be as massive of a success as it was. So when they say, like, yes, this was kind of just a song written about the historical event, I believe them because I think they didn't expect it to get that big. You know, they didn't expect it to just explode that the way that it did. So I'm sure they were just extremely surprised by all of that. Now the lyrics of it kind of showing that there is a double meaning, though. Again, you have the opening chant. Some people say it's Latin for alas, which, when you use the word alas, that's grief, pain, or fear. That's never been totally confirmed of it, though. If anything, Dan kind of just talks about how they wanted like an explosive beginning, just like the historical event of Pompeii. And what's kind of cool is they got friends in another band called To Kill a King to do the backing vocals. And To Kill a King, members of them were with Dan, kind of encouraging him to start Bastille. So that's kind of cool. And, the pre-chorus, the verses talk about the lead up to the explosion of Pompeii, where he literally describes, the walls kept tumbling down in the city we love. Gray clouds roll over the hills, bringing darkness from above. And then the chorus is where, people are like, oh, see, there's kind of like a double meaning behind it, where he says, but if you close your eyes, does it feel like nothing changed at all? But again, you could argue, well, that's how people in Pompeii look, after the explosion. Then he says, how am I going to be an optimist about this? Kind of acknowledging the gravity of what happened. Once again, he kind of goes back to the destruction of Pompeii. He repeats that pre-chorus lines all over again. But all of this leads to the bridge, which might be the most interesting part of the song, because that's where he starts to build up the song, right? But the lyrics go, oh, where do we begin? The rubble or our sins. And he kind of keeps repeating that over and over. So this is where that layer about a failed relationship and end of a relationship starts coming in. Where, the rubble could be Pompeii, but more than likely we're talking about the rubble of a relationship, right? Or he says our sins. So, maybe the sins is cheating on somebody. Maybe it's emotional cheating on somebody. What's kind of funny, too, about that is the people of Pompeii believe their gods punish them for their sins with that eruption as well. So he really leans into this historical event for those lyrics, But the music composition of it, you have kind of that underlying hip-hop beat, synth kind of playing in the background almost through the entire song. And then whenever the chorus hits, that's when that chorus of vocals start kicking in right away, which to me makes the entire song, if anything, it's just the vocals. If anything, if you have not listened to the song, which I highly doubt, I'm sure you've heard the song before, listen to an a cappella version that Bastille does of this song. It really highlights the power of the vocals behind it. But yeah, that's all I've got behind the history of Pompeii. Like I said in the beginning, there is a theory that it was one of the last indie hits, maybe ever. Of course, indie is such an abstract thing. It's kind of definitely hard to say it. But, a lot of people just kind of think like, well, what's the last like indie hit that you can think of that broke into the mainstream other than Pompeii? And I know some people could say like, oh, Imagine Dragons, kind of go in there. But then some people think Imagine Dragons is too popish and shouldn't really be considered indie. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Personally, I don't think indie music is over yet. I almost envision a renaissance to come back. But if the renaissance does not happen, I could see Pompeii being the last big indie hit. But like I said, I want to hear your guys' thoughts, and I will see y'all next week.